Hello, Mr. Randy Duck, and welcome back for another video. And today I've got two replays to show you in the Tier 10 American Tech Tree Light Tank, the Sheridan. And that is because this tank comes on track tomorrow, so you're able to earn this tank for a discount of silver and a discount of XP. Now, to be honest, it's one of my favourite Tier 10 light tanks. It kind of plays a lot more like almost like a mobile, like a cross between a light and a medium, because you don't have that much concealment. I think my concealment value is at about 281, which is decent, but not as good as some of the other light tanks. But what you do have is you've got two gun options. The gun which I'm using in both these replays, the 390 Alpha gun with a DPM of about 3,604, which you will see my build, my crew and equipment at the bottom of the screen as I speak. And you also have a derp gun, but I choose not to use a derp gun because mainly if I want to play a derp light tank, I'll probably just play the Tusk or the T49. But as you can see here, early doors I went to spot the 1-2 line on the Serene Coast here, but I just did not have the support to stay there. You can see a lot of the enemy team have pushed up down that 1-2 with the enemy fun police in the game, and yeah, just none of our heavy tanks pushing up to contest that ridge. It just was not going to work out for us there, so we had to retreat, we had to fall back, and that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to try and just stay for now to try and get shots in while I can, while they poke these ridge, because I do want to get damage into these tanks, otherwise they're just going to push through onto our base. But also, yeah, it's just not a good position for me to stay in. Now, I track this Chieftain P in position, should start to pick up some track assistance. I do try and re-track him in place, and he is getting farmed by getting caught out there. And we put him onto a one-shot, we put ourselves onto 2 penetrations and pick up about just shy of 900 assistance. But you can see our team, yeah, it is awkward for us. I'm having to play a little bit differently, I am just sort of pulling back to cover because there's also an enemy vigilante on the loose, you can see here on the left, and that tank, it's the death of all light tanks when he catches you out, because he will kill me in like literally 2 seconds. So I've got to be very careful of that tank, and it is a little bit awkward. But as you can see, he's focusing on killing our friendly fun police. He does in fact do that, but we're at least able to get a couple of shots into him whilst he's on reload. Trying to get one into our Lees, which puts him onto a potential one shot, and we do. Puts us onto about just shy of 1,500 damage. We are losing the game. You can see we're starting to lose the 1-2 area. I don't want to completely leave at the moment. I want to try and get as many shots into these tanks as I possibly can. Do spot a full health enemy heavy tank here. We're going to try it and get some shots in. I think it's the FV225B. Like I say, he's full health. It's really not ideal. We have 1 TD there. I can just try and get as many shots in as I can to help him. We do manage to finish off the IS-2-2. But yeah, I don't really want to engage that heavy tank full on because it's just not going to end well for us. But we see the opportunity to kill the enemy TL100 light tank. We do, confirming our second kill of the game, putting us onto 2,200 damage. It looks like our friendly TD there is gonna get shut down here. We're going to try and get some damage into this heavy tank as he pushes though. Like I say, it's been a weird one. I've kind of got pushed back to my base, but it's just how the game's played out. If I would have stayed in the 1-2, it would have just been pointless. I would have just got taken out. So I was better off just falling back and getting the damage in as they push, and then I've got a better chance of actually winning this game, because it's a 7 versus 7. It's still very close. I was hoping to get some punish in this tank as he moves in. He has moved into our TD. We do put 1 shot into him, and now we're looking to get a nice shot into the medium, which would potentially put him on a 1, but I don't really have the shot at him at the moment. And I'm kind of in 2 minds of what to do here. Do I just continue the path with my other friendly tanks who are pushing down the 9-0, or do I try and kill this heavy? He looks like he's pushing to the low ground, and I'm starting to think, well, if I can get to like the B1 area undetected, because I don't think there's many tanks there, if I can try and sneak past this heavy tank, I'll be able to catch him out in a position he's not really going to think I'm going to beat him, and then I'm going to be able to get easy side shots in. So I'm going to essentially try and hug the borderline and hope that I can sneak past without actually getting spotted, because if I can do that, I'll be able to get shots into this heavy tank. So I think he's dipped into the low ground there when he went to kill the enemy TD, and maybe he's making his way to our friendly tanks who are approaching the cap circle, so he might be going back for those base resets. As you can see, it is still a close game, 5 versus 5. But now I've got this angle, I can try and abuse my view range and get these shots into these tanks at an angle they wasn't expected to be in. We get one into the Sturm Tiger P, which puts him onto a one shot, but he does manage to get just behind a building, so we can't quite finish him off. But maybe we get an opportunity to put a shot into this tier 9 medium. We do, unfortunately, bounce. So I think we only have 236 on the standard penetration, but this time we might be able to squeeze one in through the train tracks if we're lucky, and we do, and that puts him on to, well, probably a 2-shot to us, but maybe a 1-shot to some other people. It's now 5 versus 3. I'm on 3,400 damage, 2 kills, and 900 assistance. Squeeze another beautiful shot through that little trained cart there, putting them onto a 1. And this game is, I mean, yeah, it's looking in favour for our team. You know, it's 5 versus 3, but the hit points are still, well, yeah, the enemy hit points down to 6%, so we should win this game, but we don't want to take anything for granted. I want to try and get the damage here. We are still full health. Finish off the medium tank. It's 2 enemy TDs left. One's enemy Sturm Tiger P. The other is the enemy Death Star. Sturm Tiger P gets shut down. Now there's 5% hit points left, which means the Death Star is on full health. We can afford, well, we can afford to eat a shot unless he pens us with HE. And yeah, we're going to try and get these shots in now. Yeah, he's almost full health. We do put one in, puts him onto a 2-shot, puts us onto about 4,300 damage. Looking to try and squeeze one in. I don't really want to eat a shot of this big boy, but he does actually shoot and bounce. So that gives me an opportunity to come in now. I know he's on reload. I should have enough time to finish him off. Put a shot through the track wheel there. Puts us on to just shy of 5,000 damage. Then I go for the kill shot, and typically I bounce it. Probably a little bit poorly aimed, actually, to be honest, by me. And yeah, but it's okay. Offered the E5, comes behind and takes him out. And that brings us then to replay number 1. But we do still have a second replay to come. So we finish that one off with 3 kills, 5,000 damage, 1,200 assistance. It's not the biggest game I have, but I just thought it shows something a little bit different where, you know, I was kind of forced to retreat. But let's move on to the final replay of this video. Okay, so here we are for replay number 2, this time on Aduka Pass. Now there is 2 enemy light tanks and no enemy fun police. So 2 enemy light tanks are the wheelie boys. So generally we've got to be a little bit careful of them because the nature of the tank, they tend to play quite aggressively and like madmen a lot of the time. So we have to worry about that. But from the start, we're going to go and try and go to sort of the D4 area around about there, just to try and spot them and see what's coming that way, get a bit of information, work out what's where, and then we can make a decision on where we're going to need to play. So you can see I make my advance here. I'm hoping just to try and you know, spot a few tanks. We pop our food just to extend our view range here. We do spot one enemy wheelie boy, and then the second one, as you can see, is playing very, very aggressively indeed. And we've got to be careful now because there is probably going to be tank destroyers covering these tanks. In fact, I'm pretty sure one of these light tanks is at least in platoon with a tank destroyer, so it makes sense that the TD is probably going to be covering this light tank. So we don't want to eat a big nasty shot, and I don't really like where I am, so I'm going to try and use this little building as a bit of protection while I leave, and just try and get over to the other side until one of these wheelie boys, you know, takes some damage, because while they're both full health like this, it's just not a great engagement for me. But one of the tier 10 wheelie boys gets slapped by the friendly vigilante, because that tank is just, you know, absolutely stupid, and it has put him onto a one shot to us. Now that has changed things somewhat, because I might be able to come in now and finish off one of these light tanks with a one shot, and then try and maybe take a little bit of vision on this side. If we can get rid of those light tanks, we can then start to get a bit of view range. There's a lot of tanks who can cover us, and I want to try and spot those tanks and reap the rewards from the assistance. So I see my window of opportunity to kill that light tank. Now it is a one shot. We pick up our first kill of the game and a massive 18 damage there, but we get almost all of that enemy M46, where we do get all of his hit points in assistance damage for spotting him. So kind of moved in at the perfect time in there. We're going to poke this ridge to see if we can spot any more tanks. We do get out spotted, but we do spot this enemy light tank, and then we spot the enemy Thankyou drone who's crossing. Now that enemy TD is, well, it is broken, it is overpowered, that TD, so we do have to be careful of that because it can put out a lot of damage very, very quickly. But we've got a little small opportunity to put a shot into the other enemy light tank, punishing him. He also gets slapped, gets put on a one-shot and gets taken out again by our friendly vigilante. That's good news for us, because that's both of the enemy vision tanks now taken care of, and it's going to make our life a lot easier to spot these targets. Get one into that Technodrome, putting us on to about 700 hit points for our second pen of the game there, or technically it's our third pen, but the first one didn't count because it was so little damage. And then we spot the enemy Death Star, track him in place, and he's not in a great position now, and we should start to pick up some assistance. And you can see I just got all of his hit points basically in the assistance, putting us on to about 4,000 assistance damage. So already we're on to a good start of this game. Enemy E100's in the middle, and I've got a decision to make here. Do I continue to push down the down the AB line, or do I turn back to the base? Now, I've kind of opted to go back to the base, because you can look, there's probably about 7 tanks coming towards our base there, and I thought I'd rather get there early and get the damage in as they start to approach, because I need to try and deal with that, right? I had another option of just circling around on the mini-map and try and come in behind them, but I thought, I wanted to take immediate action, maybe try and spot some of these tanks, maybe just try and get the damage in, because it's a close game, even on hit points, 10 versus 10. This game is a long way from 1 at the moment. Now, some tanks get spotted across here. We're going to try and squeeze one into this heavy tank. Unfortunately, it either misses or bounces. There's a Rogo Dawn there. We're going to struggle to pen, but we may be able to squeeze one into the T30. But I don't have fantastic shots, and it's not looking ideal. These tanks are probably going to push across our base, and I've already got it in the back of my mind, if they're going to push in, I'm probably going to want to get a second angle, so I may eventually push down to sort of like the K2 area just to keep my distance, but also basically create the second angle, because they're going to push in close, right? And when they do, I want them to have to focus on 2 different angles. I don't want them to just have to focus on the tanks on the hill, because that will make their life a lot easier. If I can create this awkward angle for them, when they come in, they won't know what way to turn their turret. So that's at least a plan. But I'm also sort of conscious that these medium tanks are pushing down the sort of K3 area, so I want to try and keep them detected when they poke here. And I can't really get too much closer than where I am because of the enemy position, so it's sort of stopping me going into spot, if you like, and I'm really just having to play to try and get the damage now. And I've got small shots of the Rogo Dawn, but awkward shot really to pen at this distance. I am going to need the heat rounds for that tank, and maybe we'll be able to squeeze one in to the side of the turret if we're lucky. But we're also trying to keep the tank spotted at their sort of K4-5 areas, you see. So I keep poking back to try and spot these tanks. And yeah, when the enemy medium tanks push up underneath the ridge, I'll be able to pull back and try and get shots into them. But here you see we do spot that enemy medium there at the, just at the right moment. We end up picking up a bit more assistance. So far we haven't really got any damage, right? We've only got like 700 damage, but there is still 34% hit points. That Rogo Dawn is still full health. There is lots of opportunity to get more damage out of this game, but it's certainly not one. It's definitely a very close game at the moment. But now this enemy Avery is starting to move up. We might be able to get sort of small shots in him as he sort of gets higher. Now we are going to need the heat shells because he's only really exposed in his turret. So we're not going to have, we're going to need the heat to go through his turret there. But when he turns like that, as you say, to look at our team, his turret is turned. That gives me the opportunity to get the side shot in. We do get one in, puts us onto 1,000 damage. And yeah, I'm just trying to get as many shots in this tank as I can. I'm going to try and squeeze another one in for the turret. I do. That puts him onto a one shot, which is good for our team. Hopefully I can try and finish him off before he's able to slap one of our friendly tanks. Would be nice. But I am detected, and again remember there is mediums at the K4 area which can potentially shoot me. I go for the top of his turret, a very, very small, slim shot. And things are looking a little bit awkward. I just need my team to try and hold in there, just not bleed damage, and I can just try and get these shots in to help him out. Looking to squeeze one in for the side of his mediums turret, which we do. That tank was one which was in the sort of K4 area. He's obviously relocated. We do put him onto a potential 2-shot to us now, putting us onto about 2,000 damage of our own. Again, looking to try and squeeze shots into this turret here, and we squeeze one into the cupola of the Aviary. That was a massive shot because we just confirmed a deadly tank. And this is what I mean about creating a second angle. You know, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But the Rogo Dawn now pulls in at full hit points. Now this is far from ideal. I'm thinking at this point, if our friendly TD at the sort of G3 location dies, I'm probably going to have to relocate. Maybe I should have already moved a little bit sooner, but I thought I might, you know, if that Rogo Dawn comes a bit further, it probably exposes lower plate and give me an opportunity to get a shot in. You know, with the heat rounds over distance, I'm not going to lose the penetration, so I've got an opportunity to pen him through the lower plate like that, which we do, putting us under 2,400 damage. But we also now have a tank coming around behind us, which is going to be very, very awkward. That's going to stop us really staying here now. We try and squeeze one in, unfortunately doesn't connect. We do bounce off the rear of the Sheridan, because the Sheridan Armour, it's renowned for bouncing shots off of the rear because of just the way the spaced armour works on the back. There's places which are not actually hit points boxes. But at this point, our friendly TD has now died, and I thought, you know what, I can't stay there anymore. I'm not going to stay in a brawl fighting those heavy tanks when I'm in a light tank with mobility. I'm just going to get out of there. If they go in the cap circle, I then go back and deal with it. But if they don't, I'm just going to try and focus my fire on this other end of medium and try and kill these tanks. I've got an E75 I can shoot at, who's full health, and I've also can potentially kill this medium, but he gets shut down by a friendly chisel. We don't need to. Squeeze one into the E75, hoping to try and get another one in if I can, but I think he just gets behind some destructible cover, some hard cover, and we can't get any more damage in. We're now left into a 2 versus 3. We've got one friendly chisel there who's battling this E75, and then we've got this Rogo Dawn who's popped up, and I need to again just keep coming out of there, you know, losing out. I don't want to fight him in a brawl. I just want to keep my distance, get out of there. Hopefully my chisel can try and stay safe so I can come over and help him kill that enemy E75. I do know is a one-shot. The other enemy heavy tank is likely 2-shot to me, and then it's just a Rogo Dawn. So my kind of mindset at the moment is, let's just kill the 2 lower health tanks, you know, the E75 and then the other heavy tank, then we can deal with the Rogo Dawn. Unfortunately, my friendly chisel gets sniped by the Rogo Dawn, and that's put me in a 1 versus 3, but I do still have all my hit points, so I have still got a good opportunity to win this game. I unfortunately only have 5 heat shells. Now I probably should swap, I'll be honest. This is probably a mistake I've made in this game, swap to my AP rounds now, but obviously in the mix of the madness I haven't, mainly because I'm going to need those heat shells to deal with that Rogo Dawn's armour. You know, with the AP I've only got 236 penetration on the standard round, so it's making it, that'll make my life a little bit awkward to deal with a Rogo Dawn. So yeah, I probably should save my heat shells for that, but I haven't. I'm going to go and try and kill the E75. That's my plan. The E75 is a one-shot, so let's just kill the E75, get this tank out of there. Then, you know, we're now in it. Then we're in 1 versus 2, make it easier. Now we have a shots at E75, but the smallest of shots. I guess it worked out well, but I did have the heat shell loaded because I wouldn't have penned that with my standard rounds. But we've killed this tank. We're going to try and head this way while we're detected, so the enemy team thinks we're going back that side. Once we've lost our spot, we're going to turn around and go back the other way. Essentially just trying to keep our distance from these tanks and just try and snipe them off. And like I say, until they're going to cap the circle, I'm not under the pressure. I do have a 4-minute timer remaining, so I still have time. But obviously at this stage of the game, I'm losing. I need to kill at least one of these tanks to have a chance of winning this game, and you know, unless I cap out, which I'm not going to do. Rogo Dawn gets spotted. I take a shot here. That was chancy, really. I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I won't get spotted. Let's test out his crew. But I shouldn't have really done that, because now I'm detected. They know exactly where I am. And the other heavy tank is probably making his way towards us. I'm trying to squeeze in a shot for his lower plate. Unfortunately, it does just as critical damage. But the other heavy tank thankfully gets spotted behind me. Now, that's brilliant, because that's going to give me enough time to kill this heavy tank, and then we can deal with the Rogo Dawn. Then we're back to the 1 versus 1. So we come in, he's not facing us, we put a lovely shot into the rear. We may eat one shot of this tank, but that's fine. We're going to eat the shot if we have to. We just want to confirm this kill. We do eat the 1 shot, that's okay. Now we can finish him off, and we do. And that puts us in the 1 versus 1 versus the Rogo Dawn. Puts us on to 4,000 damage and 4,500 assistance. And this Rogal is still pretty much full health, but we are left with no heat shells remaining. Probably could have done with these heat shells at this point of the game, but we didn't think it was going to end up like this. So we're going to just, again, try and keep our distance from the Rogal Dawn. But then he goes in the cap circle. Now, I'll be honest, this is where I make a mistake. Now, what I should have done at this point, and was what I was always thinking of doing, but for some reason I just didn't do it. I was thinking of going to the F2 area, just to try and outspot the Rogal Dawn. But I had a funny feeling it was going to be like hiding behind a house, and it wasn't going to let me get the shots in. So I've decided to take a different angle on the Rogal Dawn. You can see what I do. I make a mistake here, to be honest. I was heading the right way, and then I decided, you know what, last minute, I'm actually going to go, you know, around the left, see if I can spot them in the open instead. And yeah, this I end up getting too close to this tank. So I'm going to come around to this side here, and you know, at this point we're going, you know, so we've got 1.5 minutes on the clock. We've got enough time, but I don't really have enough time to completely relocate now all the way over to sort of the F2 area, and I've kind of wasted my time a little bit. So I was hoping to spot him here, but obviously I can't because there's buildings in the way. And now I'm thinking, right, maybe I can just get behind him and then out-turn his gun, which is kind of stupid, to be honest. We do get behind him. He was facing, you know, I guessed that he was facing the other way, but I don't know why I didn't just keep my distance. I thought he was just going to hide behind the house. So now I'm thinking, maybe I can just out-turn his gun, and we'll be okay. But yeah, this is... you can see I make a big mistake. I end up eating a big shot. I don't have the heat rounds. If he's got the other gun, then he could have potentially finished me off here. And yeah, this is far from ideal. Thankfully, I can use this building to escape, and we've got the reset. But I just regret doing that because now we only have 50 seconds left on the clock. So that's the real problem, which is going to end up stopping me winning this. Is just the time factor. Because if I had like 5 minutes left, I'd have so much time just to keep my distance, keep him spotted, slowly get shots in. But the problem is, I only have 32 seconds. I've not got enough time to kill him. The best I can really hope for is just get a couple of shots in and get his hit points lower, and then that might make us win on, you know, just give us the best chance to win that way. But I think it's going to end up in a loss if I'm all honestly. We've just not got enough time. We do hope to squeeze in one shot into the side, get the reset, but like I say, I just don't have the time left to kill him. Now, why didn't I just come here at the start? That's the real question. You know, I just don't know why I just didn't come here at the start. I could have just shot him like this, but I thought he would hide behind the building. So, unfortunately, that game ends in a defeat, and we do have a good game anyway. We do get 5,200 damage, 4 kills, 4,500 assistance, and we do pick up the ace tanker on the loss. It was just a shame. I think we could have won that if we played it a little bit different at the end, but you know, hey, we all make mistakes. So that's it for the video. Thank you so much for your amazing support, and happy tanking.
Enemy in sight. Hadouken!